Today, we're focusing on testing the market and landing our first project. Okay, speaking of how different spots are set up, this brings me to choosing prime locations. So not only do we want to try to choose a location that has a cheap install and it's busy with lots of people visiting and they're staying for a while, those are very vital pieces. But we're also looking for a location that ideally is locally owned by someone that you can access directly. And I say all this through pain of being in sales for over 10 years and trying to get a straight answer from people after you pitch your product. You know, in a perfect world, it would be great if we could put our chargers in at, the mega grocery store or the Costco where, there's thousands of people all the time. But if you've ever tried to get a yes or no answer from a mega corporation like that, it's damn near impossible, especially when the decision maker or the CEO or the president doesn't even live in your city. You're just a nobody trying to reach to the top of the food chain. And this is why I'm saying focus on for at least our first project until maybe we gain a little bit of reputation and we're set up properly. I would focus on someone that's locally owned, like a local coffee shop where you can actually get a straight answer, a yes or no from the owner of that establishment. Even better, if you know somebody that owns a property, really any property, because again, this is just for our first location, and they agree to letting you install your charger there, even if it's not, a prime spot, just to get started as a test run. If they give you the green light, I'd go for it, because getting your first location is the hardest thing to do. It's so tough getting the first person, number one, to say yes. And they're always going to ask you, oh, interesting. What other locations do you have your EV chargers at? How many other EV chargers do you have out there? This question makes me cringe because I'd hear it all the time when we were just getting started, and it's a really tough one to answer. And this brings me to testing the market. So before we go and start investing all this money in the hardware, the software with these electricians, I would highly recommend testing the market. I read this book a while back called $1 Million Weekend, and there was a lot of great stuff in there, but this was the one thing that really stuck with me. And it's all about feeling out the marketplace first to see if people would even be interested in what you're going to be selling before you even start the business and start putting money down. So once we gather all of our quotes and we have all of the information on how much it's going to cost us to install a charger at, let's say, this coffee place, or at least have a rough idea on how much the average project cost would be for us, then I would go and just try to pitch your offer to them. You could walk into the coffee place and introduce yourself and say, hey, we're a new EV charging company. We're still in our infancy. We're kind of just getting everything started, but we're a really big fan of your location, and we think that this could be a great partnership. We see lots of people that are coming to visit. They seem to be more environmentally conscious. They're driving EVs and they're staying for a good amount of time. So if we were able to install an EV charger here, we think we could bring even more business for you and they would stay longer at your location, which would mean they're spending more money. And the owner might say, okay, well, what's the deal? What am I going to have to do? How much is this going to cost? And a good way to frame this would be, again, as I said, we're still getting everything set up. So we're willing to offer you the charger at no cost. We'll pay for everything. You won't have to pay us a dime. And in return, we'll actually reimburse you for all of your electricity costs that went into the EV charger. You could say that the software monitors everything, how much money went in, how much the electricity cost, how much energy was used, and there will be a report that's printed out that you can send the owner so everything is clear and transparent. The main benefits to lean into here for the owner of this business is it's going to bring a lot more people to the location, and it's a great amenity to be able to provide that's going to separate them from the other coffee shop that's down the street. And make sure you say that again, it's not going to cost them anything. You're going to be taking care of everything, and it's your responsibility to make sure everything's running smoothly. And obviously you're going to want to be very transparent that because you are paying for it, you're also going to be retaining all the profit that goes into the charger. But again, the first charger isn't going to be, a huge gold mine, but they'll be able to see how much profit that you're making from the report. It will be really clear. I'm a big fan of making sure, all the cards are on the table. People know exactly what they're agreeing to. So everybody's on the same page. And remember, you want this person on your team. You want them to have a great experience because you're going to be relying on them to give you your first good review as a company. If it doesn't go well and they give you, a subpar review, it might just sink your company right from the start. But if they're a fan and you can use them as maybe a reference for your next project, that's priceless. But again, this is all about testing the market. So it's more like you're going in and pitching them an idea. You just talk to them and say, hey, would this be something you're interested in? You want to make sure you explain exactly how it all works, and first so that they understand it. And then once they understand, they can decide if that would be something that would work for them. And just because they say that they'd be interested, make sure you take that with a grain of salt, because there's a big difference between someone saying that they would say yes and actually signing the agreement. So you want to make sure you go out there and talk to a handful of different locations. And if you start hearing more and more people that are showing interest that, might be interested in actually moving forward with this, like maybe let's say 10, 15 of them, then you start to know that you got something good here. And it's more than just businesses. You can talk to government locations, even though it's kind of harder to get up to the top and get a straight answer. You can talk to condo buildings. Again, it's also a group decision, so it's a little bit more tricky, but there's more than just the businesses. I'm saying start with a business, a locally owned business, because you'll get the fastest yes or no, and then you can keep it moving. And number 5 is the most exciting day. It's when you close your first project. And this is the most exciting day. I was so pumped when we closed our first project. This is when, they agree to the terms, they sign the contract, and you can get everything rolling. But then the hard work begins. And unless you already have a team, which you probably won't because you're just getting started, I would take the foot off the gas for finding new leads and just make sure that you put all your attention and energy to making sure that your first project goes as well as possible. So make sure you put your project manager hat on, you're coordinating with the electricians, you're talking to the suppliers, getting lead times, and making sure that you don't overpromise and underdeliver. When you're talking to the owner of this location, you want to make sure you overshoot the lead times a little bit just to give you a buffer in case, there's any delays, because you always want to make sure that you install it faster and it goes better than you promised. In my next video, I'm going to go into more detail of the steps that follow after you get your first contract signed. And this is where things start to get fun, because you start to make a little bit of money and thinking about your next location, and the ball starts rolling even more. Again, if you need help with your own EV charging business, I'm happy to help. Feel free to give me a shout and I can help you with some rough project pricing, some quotes, some referrals, and even give you tips on the types of electricians to use and what to look out for. Again, my email is contact@strongenergy-ev.com. And as always, I'd love if you were to subscribe to the channel and keep following the journey. Thanks so much for checking in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.